So, hello everybody, and welcome to another of our podcast interview series. We're joined today with Caroline Bedford, who is sitting here in the podcast studio for the first time. Very excited to be in a podcast studio, I have to say, but there we are. So, Caroline, great to see you again. It's not your first time with us, so it's great to have you back.
Thank you.
For viewers and listeners who don't know you, perhaps you'd just like to spend a couple of minutes introducing yourself and what you do, and then
Absolutely.
We'll ask some interesting questions of you.
Thank you. I hope so. And thanks for having me in your podcast studio. What a fantastic space that you've got here. Brilliant. Yes, so for those people who don't know me, I'm Caroline Bedford. I'm the founder and chief executive officer of EDII. EDII stands for Educate, Develop, Innovate and Inspire, and we focus on bringing innovation and future focused skills to people who work in the insurance industry, people of all ages who work in the insurance industry. I started in the insurance industry in the late 80s. Thank you, Ben, for looking shocked there. That's good. I appreciate it. Yeah. And one of my focuses has been on learning the business to understand how to support people with technology through the 90s and since. So from my perspective, I have been delivering requirements for insurers and brokers, both in the UK and globally, for over 30 years. What I have found is that technology has certainly come out of the basement, which was very much where it was when I first started. And technology, the need to be technology conscious, has become mainstream. More so recently, but certainly since InsurTech was formed, which is probably when we started to chat in the mid 2000s, maybe 2016, 2017. So as a result of my specialty insurance expertise and tech knowledge, myself and some of my coaches recognised a need 5 or 6 years ago to make InsurTech education mainstream. That's how EDII came about. And now what we do is we take people from all roles and all ages within insurance organisations, and we help them become what we call intrapreneurs. Embed those entrepreneurial capabilities, but in ways that are going to support their organisation's strategies.
Thank you, Caroline.
Brilliant,
so just picking up on that kind of technology theme, which is really interesting and probably top of the zeitgeist at the moment with AI. Just give us a sense of what you're kind of prioritising, or what you see the kind of main issues, themes, challenges and opportunities within the London market in the kind of medium term.
Yeah, so technology is just a tool. It's always been just a tool. I've spent years and years and years working to try and get shortcuts in policy admin systems, teach people how to press F7, all of those sorts of things. But it's always just been a way to accelerate their processes and the work that they are trying to achieve. So I do not see that as any different now. I very much see that emerging technology is a tool. However, what I do see is it is affecting what we sell as an insurance organisation more than ever. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is the offerings that we have, the products that we create and deliver are to help manufacturing, aviation, marine, whatever it may be, is to help those organisations protect their business, and their business models are changing. So their processes are optimised using machine learning and artificial intelligence. They are using sensor technology again to optimize their workforce and change their business models. They are using advanced analytics. What that means is what they need from us as a market is very, very different, and we can absolutely therefore not put our heads in the sand. So what am I saying? What are we seeing at EDII? And we see a lot because we work really closely with organisations who are really future focused. We've got some fantastic organisations who've been really early adopters of helping their people understand that the skills that they had over the last 10, 20, 30 years are not going away, but they need to be augmented. So what we see is some of the cynics that didn't necessarily understand EDI's offerings 5 years ago or why they were relevant are starting to knock on our door. There are still some organisations who tell us culturally their organisations are not ready. What does that mean? I'd like to pinpoint that a bit later. But what we are seeing a lot of is organisations are accepting that digital literacy and discovery literacy have become agenda items. So this is what we focus on. And what do we mean by that? Well, we all understand literacy, don't we? You know, everybody who works in the insurance industry or in the world is required to be literate. We're required to be able to read data from a book. So words on book, let's take that as data. So we look at that and we think, okay, we all therefore have the skill, the tool set to be able to pick up a book for entertainment, for instruction, for education, for regulation. We are now focusing on the digitalized version of that and also the discovery version of that. So we want people to be able to have the tools to understand the right levels of technology for them, to be able to operate within a digital framework. Discovery wise, what does that mean? That means curiosity. These are the human-centered skills. Sometimes in the past they might have been called soft skills, but nobody really puts value on soft skills, whereas or puts them at the higher level of the agenda, whereas we now see those behaviors, those characteristics as being the fundamental differentiators. So organizations that are prioritizing critical thinking, creative problem solving, innovation focus for people across their board are the ones that we see are poised to take on the products of the future.
Yeah, interesting. That's really good. It's interesting you talk about soft skills. We've obviously just done this ICP report, and you, thank you very much, contributed to it, Caroline. And that did, I mean, people did raise that phrase, soft skills, and we need to develop and change. Yes. Seems to me that what you're doing and talking about is that you can actually, no matter what age you are or what's, you know, to an extent what type of person you are, you can develop those skills at any time. My observation in that report was that people were kind of talking about, we'll get these skills from somewhere else, or we'll bring them into the market, and that's, I appreciate you can do both, but to what extent can it be developed, these talent, if this talent shift is going to happen?
Yeah.
Do you have to look outside industry, or are we? Is there something different going on? You know, because you're doing your thing.
Yeah.
Can you work with the talent you've got, or does it need to be more talent? I'm always interested in that.
Yeah. So we're looking at going touching on your topic of soft skills. So people on the ground want to acquire advancement in their soft skills. So when I'm talking about they're not valued, what I mean is they're not valued at board level. If we're looking at budget, if we're looking at what we invest, if we have our talent teams or our L&D teams talking about, you know, we want to put this program of work in that's going to elevate our people's soft skills, that doesn't resonate with the budget holders. What we've actually broken it down to is to say, what do you mean by soft skills?
Yeah.
And what we mean by that is understanding our customers, being able to elicit the insights from brokers, carriers, whoever they may be, that is going to impact our bottom line. It's going to provide us with process optimization that is going to allow us to create new products that are going to open new markets for us. That's what we mean by soft skills. So we've kind of relabeled them discovery skills. They lead to being more innovative. They lead to questioning, to not accepting the status quo. And those are fundamental that we're now teaching in our programs to senior leaders as well as people across the entire business. Can you teach them? Yes, you absolutely can. So I was asked this question some point last year about emotional intelligence. We were talking about emotional intelligence being a superpower, and the question was, can you teach emotion? Can you raise your EQ level? In a similar parallel to can you raise your IQ level? And what we said was, you can learn processes to mimic emotional intelligence if it's something that doesn't come naturally to you. And ultimately the result will be similar. So if you are an introverted person, or you're not a naturally curious person, we have a series of processes, and we all need that, because no matter how emotionally intelligent you are, what we are in fact doing is we're gathering data. And we need to be able to analyse that data. We need to be able to drive insights from it. That's where the processes and techniques come in. So wherever you sit on that EQ chain, in fact, perhaps even if you feel yourself less naturally emotionally intelligent or leaning toward it, more likely that you're more focused on making something of the data that you actually acquire.
You're a data scientist.
You are a data scientist. So you're eliciting insights. You're driving qualitative and quantitative data, and then you're thinking, now, okay, what does this tell me? What do I do with it? So age, we talk about this a lot. There are, as the report demonstrates, which was superb, there are so many people over 50 in the insurance sector who are going to be here for another 15-20 years, I think, either by choice or just how that's going to work out. We need to take the expertise that those people have, which indeed they do, and work with them to complement their skills, to say, how do I augment this for how my business is going to run in the future?
Sorry, I'll just say one thing, which is interesting, which is that there is a conversation or a discourse now about people working longer. I mean, there's a kind of factual conversation of, obviously, for societies where people are, don't get as ill or sick until much later on in life. If they work for longer, they get more out of it. And my sense is a lot of people are starting to get to grips with that, which is actually, I'm not going to go through the retire at 60, retire at 65, even early retire. I'm going to carry on. I might do 3 days a week, but actually, to your point about making this a commercial proposition for those leaders, it seems to me you're getting much more potentially out of people for longer as well, if that changes, and they're doing it by choice, not because you're forcing them to work.
No, absolutely. So we've got the focus that we've just touched on before was claims. There's a massive amount of claims expertise that is borne out over time. That sort of thing doesn't happen overnight. And what we will see, so Jeremy, you asked about artificial intelligence. So generative AI, agentive AI, absolutely going to be accelerating, but needs to be combined with that human level of expertise that's been built up over the decades. So you've got people who are really expert at their roles. What I would say is, do not fear the change, lean into it, because acquiring those skills and being part of it means that you maintain your relevance for much longer than if you try and put those barriers up.
So I had a question as well, and this came up at the London Market Claims Conference. I think you were on the panel, Ben, and someone in the audience asked, with the technology that we're seeing, the rapid development of them, and the potential for them to really transform kind of traditional ways that we've been processing and running businesses in the London market. What does that mean for skills and capabilities? And the question was saying, 30 years ago when I came into the industry, I went through lines of spreadsheets and inputted that data. Now that was a kind of, it seems like a stupid thing to do now in a digital age. But she said she learnt why I was doing that and why it was important to put those numbers in those rows, and what it meant upstream and downstream and for claims and everything like that. Now, it seems, and her question was, I've now got into a senior management role. How am I going to bring people through to build up the same level of skills and competence that I've got now in order to kind of run the department and bring people through? And I'd be quite interested to hear what you think about that, because there was quite a bit of pushback from the panel around that question, because we were going, well, when you started, there was also a process 30 years before that had probably changed, and what you were doing was quite new at that time. So it's, I don't know, I'll be quite interested.
It's a hot topic. And it's not just claims, it's underwriting as well, because now we are digitizing risk. Now we might move to accelerate algorithmic underwriting. Many thousands of underwriters learned their trade being an underwriting assistant, interpreting slips, and all the many varieties that went in. So the topic of how do people gather their expertise without having to go through the learn by rote process is very, very relevant, because what I believe is we are not going to be seeing many carriers having graduate programs of underwriting, 20, 30 underwriting assistants in 5 years' time, and if we do, those roles are going to be very different. So there is absolutely a process where we need to bring together the digital native people who are ready to come in now with that expertise that's already been gathered. So what we're seeing is many organisations are bringing in data scientists or graduates who've got some form of data degrees, data backgrounds. I'm working with some young female entrepreneurs who are tech specialists. What they're finding is they're almost coming fully formed in some ways, that these entry-level roles don't satisfy their curiosity. They don't satisfy their kind of ambition. So they know enormous amount about artificial intelligence, about the science of it, about how it can help. We need to bring those two things together. We need to narrow that delta. So in the data science field, they absolutely can learn about the business, because that's what they are doing. They are interrogating that data. But what we need to do is no longer, I think we need to have hybrid teams in terms of skills levels. So I think that and we've been talking about this for quite some time, that the traditional vertical career path needs to come under the spotlight, because we need to bring people together who have got that expertise born of decades of working in that line, and then we need to bring together those people who have the ability to understand how we can accelerate that or augment that. So I think teams of multi-generational talent working together, sharing, sort of mentoring each other and sharing their knowledge. But also I think talent acquisition teams need to really focus on, when they seek to attract talent to market, the top talent that is leaving the universities now have abilities and expectations that make them entrepreneurs, and therefore to be able to encourage them into an organisation where they're to be an intrapreneur is a very delicate balance as to how you use their talent but also satisfy what they want from the role too.
Interesting. So just to finish off, Caroline, I wanted to kind of look a little bit further into the future. So over the horizon, what's coming over? So we've talked quite a bit about AI. Now, for me, AI is here and now. It's not a future thing. So I just wonder if you got any thoughts on kind of what perhaps this time next year or in 2 years' time we might be talking about in terms of both opportunities, but also then challenges for the industry to grasp those opportunities.
Yeah, well, I mean, AI is absolutely here now. I mean, AI itself as a science has been around since the 1950s. Yeah. So as a category, it's absolutely there now. What we're seeing a lot of right now is obviously generative AI, and things are moving really fast. You know, this time last year, EDII wasn't asked to go into insurers or brokers and carry and roll out a co-pilot program so people understood how to sort of optimize efficiency. But what I also say, you were talking about Excel, Jeremy. I was in my early days, it was Lotus 123. Anybody? Shout out. So using Copilot is very much going to be like using AutoSum in Excel, and or I don't know, save as in Word. You know, some of the functions are going to be like that. But what we are expecting on the horizon over the next few years is again a acceleration of the artificial intelligence tool sets. So agentive AI, where so at the moment, if I use ChatGPT or Copilot or Claude or any of those, other AI tools are available. If I use any of those, I still need to be able to instruct it. So prompting, I need to be able to, it's always been rubbish in, rubbish out. It's no different now. So I need to be able to do that well. However, we will get to the stage in the next couple of years where agentive AI means that we can easily say, analyze every submission that has come in for this, create this kind of pivot table, show me this data, tell me what my margins should be for this particular territory. Okay, so 2, 3, 4 years, those are the sort of things that we expect to see available. Again, that is a tool. If I don't have the expertise to know what to ask for, if I don't know what my capacity is and what my, the data, what my business strategy is, I'm not going to be able to take full advantage of that. So the technology, without a doubt, is going to mature at a rapid pace. And I know that because we were doing town halls for some organisations last year where they were still very cynical about AI, and that's less than 12 months ago. What I will say, focus on discovery skills, focus on the augmenting the capabilities of your people to navigate these changes and make best advantage. Because that way, any technology change that comes in, you are still going to be at the top of your game.
So and what you said at the beginning, I think therefore listening to you today is right, that it's not really new, it's different, and it's faster. For sure it's faster. Because I was recalling probably 15, even maybe 20 years ago, on a panel, a woman said, as this technology comes in, we're going to need those discovery skills. It was a research panel saying we need people not just to be able to do the nuts and bolts, because the nuts and bolts will be done by the computer effectively.
Yeah.
But that will mean your competitive advantage will come from your curiosity or your ability to find things and nuggets within there. So in a way, it seems to me it makes it more imperative that you're a thoughtful, curious individual in an organisation when there's more data.
Absolutely. It is absolutely fundamental that if you are recruiting people for your roles or you are measuring people's performance, their ability to challenge the status quo has to be a metric. Because one of the most powerful questions that are going to help satisfy clients and your organisation is going to be why, and then the next question is going to be what and how.
I've just recruited an analytics person who has all the kind of Python skills and everything else that you expect, but he's also written a play which he did for the National Theatre of Britain or Youth Theatre of Britain, and I thought, oh my god, what an amazing
skill set.
Skills.
Absolutely. We've talked a lot about the rise of the generalist, being able to have that specialism, but then also having those complementary competencies and skill sets, and those are so key. The most common phrase that we hear a lot from insurance clients at the moment is we're out innovating you. Now, if that still is the comment in 2 years, 3 years time, then we are all in real trouble.
Yeah, agree.
Good. Yeah. Caroline, thanks ever so much for joining us, giving us your thoughts and insights.
You're welcome.
And, we look forward to catching up again and
fun.
seeing how things develop.
Same time next week.
Yes.
Thank you.